As you probably know, every Toastmasters club is different. They all have the same basic theme, but if you go to one club or another club, you'll see that they have perhaps some slightly different roles, perhaps done in a different order, perhaps done in a different way. So what I would like to do is introduce you to the way McDowell Toastmasters runs their meeting. It's not necessarily the best way, but it's the way we do it. At McDowell, there are several people who are involved with a meeting. We have the presiding officer, we have the Toastmaster, we have the optional joke and thought, we have the functionaries. I'll explain those in a minute. We have speakers, table topics, evaluators. The secretary gets involved, the VP of Education gets involved, and of course, you get involved. Let's start with the presiding officer. For a particular meeting, that is the person who opens the meeting, and if we have guests, greets them to make them feel welcome. At the end of the meeting, we'll conduct any club business as needed. Toastmaster of the Day. This is an extended role. It actually begins before the meeting actually starts, perhaps as much as a week or more beforehand. Before the meeting, the Toastmaster is responsible to ensure that all roles are filled. Make sure that if we have attendees, that they have access to the agenda. Now, you do see it posted on the screen here, but it's a little hard to read at times, so you can get it from Free Toast Host, or we can send it to you in advance, or if you're a surprise member, we can give it to you through the chat. And of course, the most stressful part, which I think Adina has encountered here, is adjust for last minute changes. There is always last minute changes. Once we get to the meeting having started, then it's a piece of cake for the Toastmaster. Just need to run the meeting, introduce each of the roles as needed, and that's it. Can sit back and relax otherwise. There are some optional things that the Toastmaster can do. You can have a theme if you want. Adina has chosen one. And then you can also coordinate that theme with the grammarian, the table topics master, and the joke and thought. Those are all optional. Joke and thought, optional part. It's fun. It can be a short joke. It should be polite. That is something that you could tell your mother, or in the case of some of us, maybe that you could tell your pastor. Or it could be a provoking thought or quote. And as I stated earlier, you can optionally coordinate that with a theme if you would like. The functionaries, these are people who do some measurements for the meeting. The grammarian introduces the word of the day, and optionally, it can be coordinated with the meeting theme. Keeps track of the word of the day, grammar, interesting uses. Let me put Thomas to work here and say, you can sate your knowledge with whatever words come out of your mouth that are probed by the grammarian. And towards the end of the meeting, there's a short report, about 1 to 2 minutes long. The awk counter, as you saw on the row earlier, keep track of all filler words or glitches, the ers, ums, maybe too many likes, or and so ons, etc. If you can, provide a signal. When we met in person, we used to have a clicker that gave you instant feedback that you gave out that little errant error. Sometimes a flashlight is used to flash if you're in a Zoom meeting. And again, a short report is given at the end of the meeting. The timer. Timer times things that needed to be timed. I think I stated the obvious there. But speeches get timed, table topic responses get timed, evaluations get timed, general evaluation gets timed, and optionally, you can time the grammarian and awk counter and even the timer themselves. At one club, the grammarian would give practically a whole speech herself, a 5 to 7 minute review of the whole meeting. We want to keep it down to 1, perhaps 2 minutes. Again, provide a visual signal to the speaker. That is that green, yellow, and red flags. If you're got the capabilities. You can use it as a background to your screen. You can hold up green, red, and yellow cards, or worst comes to worst, find a green, yellow, and red object and hold that up in front of the camera. Again, a short report. The speakers, they will deliver prepared speeches, usually for a Pathways project, and they're typically 5 to 7 minutes long. The introductory speech that everyone gives for every path they choose to take is a 4 to 6 minute speech. There are some speeches, such as this one, that could be different length. This one is 10 to 15 minutes. There are others that are 2 to 3. There are others that can be up to a half hour in length. You need to work with the Toastmaster and VP Education to make sure that you can fit those longer or shorter meetings into a typical meeting. Table Topics Master. Table Topics person will tell you what they do upcoming, but there's usually 3 selections where you ask the audience a question. Multiple ways to do it. What we like to do is first give the topic first, the question first, then select the speaker. That way everyone sweats it out for that 1 to 2 seconds. How would I answer that question? We should choose non-speaking members first. If we have someone in the meeting who's a member who does not have a role, they should be given a chance to speak. Second down the list is people who have reduced speaking, such as the counter, the grammarian, perhaps the timer, perhaps the Toastmaster. And if we have guests, if we have time, we should give them the option to do table topics also. If we only have 1 or 2 prepared speakers, then the table topics master should have extra questions available, maybe up to 3 of them, to fulfill our meeting time. And again, the table topics master may, if they desire, coordinate with the meeting theme. The respondents. You get to answer the question that the table topics master asks. These are impromptu 1 to 2 minute speeches, and keep in mind these are mini speeches. It should have a brief opening, a body of your speech, and a conclusion. The key element that most people don't realize is you can answer the question directly. You can fabricate a story. You can make something up. Or if you're totally flummoxed by the question, you can say, "Dear Table Topics Master, I don't understand the question, but the other day a chicken crossed the road and it inspired me to think about something." The challenge I put forward to the Table Topics respondents is to use the word of the day if they can slide it in there. The speech evaluators. Guess what? This also is a mini speech, 2 to 3 minutes long, again with an opening, body, and conclusion. The evaluation form can be gotten from Free Toast Host. Ask the speaker if they have anything in particularly they would like to have evaluated. They need to concentrate, like, I need to get rid of my ers, or I need to make sure that I do more inflexive speaking. The evaluation should include strengths. These are things you did excellently, and also opportunities. That is, I like what you did there, but if you try it this way, you could enhance your speech quite a bit. And you need to send this to the speaker so they can read down in details what you thought of their speech. And keep in mind, the speech evaluation is only one person's idea of how well you spoke. The general evaluator evaluates the whole meeting, except for the speakers. They should comment on how well the evaluators did. They could also comment on table topics, the question and responses, was the meeting on time, etc., etc. The secretary. This is kind of a silent role and usually reserved for the business conducted at the end. If you conduct any business, it should be documented. And that documentation can either be put on the agenda or in File Manager on Free Toast Host. Should also assist in attendance. Who attended the meetings? What roles did they did? Free Toast Host can keep track of that. And the secretary, in coordination with the webmaster and other players, can make sure that that attendance is recorded. The VP Education. The VP Education informs members when new agendas are available. VPE is responsible for the agendas. They usually are put out there 4 to 8 weeks in advance. And it is your responsibility to go out there and say, are you planning to attend the meeting? And you can sign up for roles during that initial period. After the target date has gone by, the VP will go out there and assign roles to everybody. She will go through the free toast host to see what speeches have been done, what roles have been done in the past, and try to make sure that everyone gets a chance to be Toastmaster, grammarian, I'll counter timer, etc. So if you want to do a specific speaking role, sign up early when those new agendas come out there. Or if you want to squeeze in, talk to the VPE. They can adjust the agenda after it's out there for the first time. Now, let's narrow down to your responsibilities. I alluded to this already. On Free Toast Host for a specific agenda, at the top, there's a little thing that says, are you planning to attend? If you cannot attend, mark no. That way, you cannot be assigned to a role. Also, if you have already been assigned to a role, something comes up and you find out you can't attend, by checking that no, you will be deassigned the role, and the VPE will be notified that you had to remove yourself from the meeting. There's one half step there. That is, let's say that you know you're going to attend the meeting, but you can't do the role for some reason. For example, you were going to give a speech and the materials you needed for that didn't come in or didn't gel. You can X yourself out from the role. That will remove you from that role. It will tell the VPE that you removed yourself, but you're still available for attending the meeting or fulfilling any other role in the meeting. And then always go out to Free Toast Host, at least for the next meeting a week ahead, and say, what are you going to do, so you can prepare for that. If you've been assigned Toastmaster, come up with a theme. If you're assigned grammarian, come up with the word of the day. Decide if you want to integrate all these roles together for the same theme or not. Now, as a speaker, I want to emphasize this part. As a speaker, at least a day before the meeting, go out to Free Toast Host and choose your path, project, and what level you're doing within that project. Put your speech title out there and an introduction. That gives the Toastmaster a chance to see how big your speech is, make sure that the time restraints are correct for what the meeting default is, change it if need be, gives the Toastmaster the introduction to introduce the speaker, and that gives you a chance to get a little lead in as to what your speech is about. Now, if you have a non-standard speech, for example, there's one that has a panel, that usually takes up the whole meeting. More prep time is needed for that, usually a couple weeks or more. So all in all, we have a complex set of stuff here. It's very straightforward. If you do it every week, it's a piece of cake. Unfortunately, we don't do every role every week. So if I come in as Toastmaster, I'm going to be a little fuzzy. Let me see. I did that 6 months ago. Now, how does a Toastmaster do things? Review. Ask someone for help.